Hello and welcome back to the Weekly Woo from November 24th to November 30th. Okay, so we are going to start out the beginning of this reading and we will do the planetary shifts off the hop. So we have a lot of shifting energy going on, and what I mean by that is we have a couple planets going direct motion. So yahoo, we are 2 more planets direct after the end of this week. So that makes things a lot smoother, a lot easier. It brings a little more clarity. We're on the upside of that part. So on November 27th, we have Saturn stationing direct motion. Okay, so that will be Saturn in Pisces. And remember, this is last call for Pisces, Saturn in Pisces at that high 25th and on degrees. So what do I mean by that? So when I say last call for Saturn in Pisces, that's exactly what it means. We once it's finishing its transit right now in Saturn, and once it leaves Saturn, we will not see this particular combination again for another 28 to 30 years. So that's why it's so significant. And as it works its way back up to the 29th degree, it gets to be chaotic. It gets to be that anaretic degree, which is it's unsettled, it's disruptive, it's chaotic. It usually plays out in the negative fashion first before it ever planes out and self-corrects, okay? So then we have on November 29th, we have Mercury stationing direct motion at 20 degrees Scorpio. So again, yahoo, okay? So when we have Mercury stationing direct, remember the stationing days are the most powerful days. So the day before, the day of, and the day after. This, of course, same energy information applies to Saturn. The stationing day is always the most powerful day because that particular planet, the day it stations, is the closest to Earth, is why it is the larger, higher impact or higher influence of energy, okay? So that will bring us to 2 more planets direct motion, so that's quite lovely. And when Mercury stations direct motion, that's super good because things begin to speed up again in life, and all those kinks and crooks and headaches and lack of clarity starts to straighten out. Things become clear, communications are better understood, we see things better, we understand things better, and we will leave that hiccup or lemon season purchasing large ticket items or electronics. We'll slowly leave that time zone behind. So I would always just say, if you're thinking about buying electronics or large ticket items, that could be vehicles, quads, cars, trucks, TVs, computers especially, or laptops, iPads, iPods, those kind of things, anything large ticket item and electronic. And this also applies to appliances, by the way. Give it a day or two after the 29th. So like about the first week of December would be a pretty good time to start purchasing those things again. When you purchase those large ticket items during Mercury retrograde, I just like to describe it as it's kind of a disaster. It's the lemon season to purchase those things. So sometimes we don't always have a choice. Sometimes we do need it. So if that was the case, either see if you can get a loaner or always buy the replacement warranty because guaranteed you'll need it. Okay, so that will bring basically our stationing planets direct. That's the 2 we have this week, 27th, 29th. Then on the 30th, we have Venus entering Sagittarius. So that's a really good shift. It's a very positive shift. Where Venus is at, so basically Venus is sitting in Scorpio basically the rest of this week. Venus does not like being in Scorpio. It does not operate well. It's kind of like a chaotic, and it's kind of like that witchy kind of thorny tail, stinger on the tail Scorpio in Venus. So it raises a lot of hell and it raises a lot of ruckus. It's not smooth running. It does not like being here. So by the end of the week, Venus will enter into Sagittarius, which is a much better, smoother, happier combination. So yay. So that will be our planetary shifts for the entire week. So that will be Saturn direct, that will be Mercury direct, and we will have Venus entering into Sagittarius. So yahoo. Okay, and at this point in time, as I spoke of this about before, so our post-shadow eclipse season, we're out of that, okay? So I allow 60 days, 2 months. That's depending on every astrologer's opinion. And so I allow about 60 days. So that would be linked back to September 21st. So now we're sitting past the November 21st. So we're freewheeling. We're out of that energy. So we're out of that. And the next one will be next spring, the next eclipse season. Okay, so and then we will discuss retrograde planets. So we are sitting with currently right now, just keep in mind we're doing a retrograde and a direct motion this week with both Saturn and Mercury. So technically right now, as I'm recording this, we are still Saturn retrograde, we are still Mercury retrograde, but by the end of the week, those are both be stationed and flipped the other way and going direct motion. So it makes things smoother, faster, and it's better, right? We have more flow instead of restriction. Okay, so then we have Jupiter retrograde. We have Uranus retrograde. Remember, this one's a real shakeup and a real hiccup, because why do I say that? Uranus, first of all, it does not like being in Taurus. And Uranus is retrograde back into Taurus. And again, this is last call. We are not going to see, after it will be here for a while, but when it completes its transit through the last legs, the last call of Taurus, we will not see this particular Uranus and Taurus combination for another 84 years. And most of us probably won't live that long to see the next transit when it comes back in, because it takes 84 years to come back around to that same point. So, which is okay, because Uranus does not like being in Taurus. Okay, but we are at that pivotal, chaotic, anaretic 29th degree. And so that is very, very chaotic. It's upsetting. It's unstable. It's unpredictable. It causes unexpected problems, unexpected events. And that's going to be the real major undercurrent of this week, is like it's unexpected things and going a little bit backwards. We're going to have to fix some things, mend some things, go back over some things. But I'll get into that later on. And why do I say that? It's because we have a Venus opposition Uranus, and that's quite a disastrous one. And don't take that as it's like super, super bad. I mean, it can be. Just remember that Uranus is the sky god, so that can be, plane crashes, problems with airlines, problems with air travel, anything to do with air, airplanes, anything air-linked. That could actually include airstrikes. But anyway, that's very, very major. That's high impact energy, but it can be the lesser, where it just says you have too many unexpected things going on and you're pulled two different directions and there's just not enough hours in the day. So it can be something as simple as that, which is very easily remedied, to something very, very more serious, where it would be that term you could think like, I just did not see that coming. Totally unexpected, out of the blue, right? Out of left field. That's what Uranus is. It's unstable. It's unpredictable. Okay, and so that Uranus is in retrograde, and then what else do we have there? And I think that's about it. Our Pluto is direct motion. Oh, sorry, no, we have Neptune retrograde, Neptune retrograde in Pisces, and again, that's the last call for that guy too. So Neptune in Pisces, those run 14-year terms, 14-year orbits. So again, Neptune in Pisces in the higher degrees, and that's about that 29th degree, so that's chaotic energy as well. And so, all of us will not live long enough to see this particular combination again either. So Neptune in Pisces, it's in its home sign, and she's last call. So it will be here till it finishes its transit. And once Neptune leaves the sign of Pisces, we will not live long enough to see this go into this particular combination, sign and planetary combination, again for another 165 years. Okay, so I just want to pass that along. And so just keep in mind, as time goes on, Uranus is preparing to move into Gemini full-time for another 7 years. Neptune is preparing to move into the sign of Aries for the next 14 years. And Saturn is gently preparing to leave Pisces behind, and it's going to move into Aries as well. And the duration of that orbit is going to be about 2.5 to 3 years. So we have a high impact of Aries coming in. We will see that into 2026. So that's liftoff energy. That's fire. That's go-getter energy, right? And something I just want to point out, since we're still talking about retrograde planets, like I said, we have Jupiter retrograde, Saturn, Mercury retrograde until the end of the week. Then those Mercury, Saturn will station direct. Uranus is retrograde, Neptune is retrograde. And we will carry on from there. The other thing I want to talk about, just a little blurb about the Neptune in Pisces. So that's always drug and addiction related energy, and Neptune in its home sign just further and higher influence, and multiplies or doubles or triples that impact, that energy. So if you look back the last 14 years, and this is just a really, really, really good description of this particular Neptune in Pisces combination of addictions, drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, street drugs, drugs out of control, addictions out of control. Like, it's just a complete mess. So if you think about that, and you think about going 14 years back, that particular topic or energy was completely highlighted for the last 14 years. So that is like a global thing that we can all see on a global level. So it's not pointing to any person or anything, but it's just a general information consensus that on the negative impact of Neptune and Pisces, that's what it's doing. So we can all see that over the last 14 years. We can see where the addiction problems and alcohol, drugs, and street drugs and pharmaceuticals, it just is totally, completely out of hand. So just a reminder, we are moving out of that time zone, thankfully, and we're moving Neptune into Pisces 2026 full time. Okay, so enough about that. All right. Okay, so we covered the over. Okay, so I just want to talk about this again because the undercurrent, we have lots of good trines, but it comes with its problematic squares, and it comes with that huge, massive Uranus opposition, okay? So it's really a serious mixed bag of major good and major negative or challenged aspects. So again, it's going to stay hyper focused on the positive because it can be very, very, very easy to fall into that negative energy and stay there. And when a person does that, it means you missed the good boat of mojo. All that trine energy is going to pass you by and you blew it. So do be very, very aware. Be very conscious of this and stay very, very positive because it's such good energy within this kind of jumbled, troubled energy. It could be very easily missed. Okay, so when we have Uranus, again, that's unexpected. It's unpredictable energy. It's a rebellion. It's rebellious energy. It's revolutionary energy. It's freedom loving, right? So we can see that on a global stage where you have people fighting back or forming association or groups to fight back against governing bodies, those types of things. Or it can just strictly be straight fighting. It can be fighting behind closed doors or fighting, road rage, those kind of things. But it's a last minute thing. It's unexpected. It's unpredictable. It's unstable energy. It's things out of left field. It's the unexpected events, unexpected people showing up and doing weird things. It's crazy people, right? It's out of the blue information, news coming in. Remember, Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, which can really indicate a high. We don't have an active Mercury, we do have an active Mercury, but we have pretty much an inactive Sun. So not a lot of aspects with the Sun. So you can expect high communication, and you know what, that expression of I just didn't see that coming, or I just can't believe that. And this will be very, very linked to a couple things. So when we have Uranus oppositions, especially in Taurus and retrograde, that can impact our relationships, right? Because that's a Taurian energy. But Uranus, that can impact politics, global stage, politicians. It's very, very linked to associations, groups, like-minded groups, but in particular politics and politicians. So that's going to be news or information that comes out that you think, holy cow, I just can't believe that happened, or that they did that, or they got caught, or those kind of things. And when it comes to an opposition, that's always a problem. There's something going on there that's probably going to surface, and somebody's going to get caught doing something. So just keep that in mind. So that's a global stage. So that's like not pinpointing anything on anybody individual, but this can also, that kind of energy can play out on a personal level as well. So it's personal to global. Anybody on the planet, you count, because no one's free from this. I mean, you're on the planet, you count too. You're not excluded, okay? And so that can also include disruption in money. It can include disruption in currencies, interest rates, your markets, your stock market's unstable. So it's like it's here, there, it's all over, and it can often pinpoint a problem with markets and the values where they would crash or they would take a serious dip in value, okay? That is part of it. So when Uranus is in Taurus, that's the part it likes to affect. It likes to impact the financial market, stocks, anything to do with investments, that's a possibility. And when you're mixing those two things, that can be unexpected things going on with relationships, love, money, finances. And when it's mixed with Venus, we have Venus opposition Uranus. And so I do like to just include health with the Venus, because Venus is always about the fine things in life. And in my opinion, my view, health is one of the finest things in life. So we can have unexpected things going on to do with health or health issues or news or information, okay? And this can be very much directed in a backwards fashion. So that's not always bad. It can be something, you thought it was one thing with a health condition, and as it turns out, because we're in Mercury retrograde, we're going back over that thing and finding out maybe something wasn't how it looked, or a test result wasn't what it was. And so we correct and we go back and we fix, or we resolve, or we heal, or take a different path for healing or resolution, or those kind of things. So again, just as, a general thing, it's unexpected things going on, unexpected events. And again, some of those things, and this can also include unexpected things going on, and that can be linked to internet, social media platforms, those kind of things, like-minded things, or internet projects, those types of things. So again, the undercurrent, even though we have so many good trine energies, that undercurrent of unexpected, and like I said, for a lot of us, probably most of us on a personal scale, that can be, I'm just too goddamn busy. There is not enough hours in a day, and you're pulled this way and you're pulled that way, and I should be here and I should be there, and I should be tending this and tending to that. I actually had a conversation with a friend earlier this week, and that's what she indicated to me. So there, again, that can very, very much pinpoint and highlight where we need to do a reevaluation. And that's a perfect time to do it, because we're still pretty much Mercury retrograde. And we need to sit down, review, and reevaluate our values, our value systems, our value structures. What is important? What is not, right? Prioritize tasks, okay? And so that usually can settle out that I'm being pulled here, and I'm being pulled there, and I need to do this, and I need to do that, and this person's calling, that person's calling, and the people pleasing, okay, that needs to stop. Okay, so revamp that. If that's you, time to revise, review, and redo. Okay, so we're in that prime perfect energy. And at Saturn, in retrograde and going direct this week along with Mercury, again, that's, reevaluating my responsibilities. What belongs to me? What doesn't belong to me? And return to sender all those things that do not belong to you. People need to do their own work, take responsibility for themselves. Okay, just something to ponder. And so really, that can be the undercurrent of an issue, just being drained, depleted, too much going on, extremely, extremely tired. Okay, so now we will move on from that. That was kind of winded, but that's very, very applicable this week. So we have 3 trines. So I'm just going to list them off. Not that it's going to mean nothing to you, but it's good mojo. So we have Venus trine Jupiter. Very, very good. So that's, expanded money, expanded ideas, expanded horizons. That can include relationships and prominent and very important females. And so we have a Venus trine Saturn. So Venus is super, super highlighted with really, really good mojo, but it's got one hiccup, and that's mixed with Uranus. That's going to be a problem. So we have Venus trine Saturn retrograde. We have Venus trine Neptune retrograde. So those are all grand water trines. We had 3 trines this week, which was awesome, awesome, awesome. And again, anything to do with Venus, and it's extremely activated this week. It's got to do with money. It's got to do with beauty. It's got to do with finances, love, relationships, partnerships, our values, our inner values, our valuables, possessions, assets, those kind of things, money, finances. And those very important females in our life. So that can be mom right down to our loved ones, relationships or partnerships. So just keep that in mind. So there's got some really good flow there. We have one conjunction, and that's going to be Mercury conjunct Venus. There we go, Venus again, right? So that's about, good communication. Well, I shouldn't say that. That can run either way, positive or negative. Conjunctions are the mixed bag of positive and negative. Mostly they're considered positive, but that's not the bulletproof thing. So that can be either or, can swing either way. So that, again, to do with money, beauty, art, finances, love, relationships, partnerships, and that can include health. And so that is news or information or learning or, education in those areas. Or you might be, means of transportation. So you might be traveling somewhere or having to do with something. And that can be a lift-off energy. So conjunctions are always a start. They're always a lift-off. And so, again, positive or negative. So take that as it lands. That's going to be a completely different story for everybody, but very, very activated, very news-oriented. We have one square, and we're mixing Mars squaring the North Node. So what does that mean? Mars is our god of war. It's very, very masculine energy. It's a highly sexual energy, right? It's the god of war. It's about force. It's about aggression. And it's also about violence. And when you mix violence and war and, and this can also be, cutting yourself or getting cuts, or it can be about traumas, right? So when Mars is with a square at the North Node, that can be problematic surgeries as well, right? When you mix Mars with a problematic, that's that can be surgery traumas that can indicate bleeding, those kind of things, being, bleeding from cuts, crashes, right? Accidents. Anything to do with Mars, it's aggression, it's aggressive. And so that is war-torn, trauma, traumatic, violence, energy. And we're mixing with the North Node. So that's just a problem. Or it can be something as simple as just a very activated or a highly influenced problem coming in during this week. And again, that's one of those hiccup things that this combination is that mixed bag. Mixed bag is super, super, super excellent trines mixed with a fairly harsh, major negative aspects of the squares and the oppositions. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. And again, that Uranus opposition with Venus, again, that Venus is just activated. It doesn't matter which way you spin it. Venus is going to be our main dominant energy this week. It's the main governing body. So Venus is very highlighted as the main governing body, and that's definitely going to be, hand in hand with Uranus. Even though we only have one Uranus aspect, it's still very influential. So it's going to, letting you know that it's going to be shaking its Uranian weight around this week, right? So yeah, there's lots to work with, and do pick your battle. So when I look at this week, I always talk about the minor negative aspects, because of those are those little buggers that disrupt the week. And, you have plans of doing this, you have plans of doing that, and everything goes sideways because these little buggers show up and they change everything. So when we have semi-squares and we have quintiles and biquintiles and inconjunctions, those kind of things, that really creates havoc with our daily plans. So just be flexible, be light on your feet. Be very willing to adjust, because if you don't, it can be very, very frustrating. So if we know this ahead of time, we can kind of mentally prepare the thinking, okay, well, you know what, we want to do this, this, and this. But if that doesn't work out, and, have plan A, B, C, D, E ready, right? Because chances are it's going to go a little bit sideways. It's not going to go according to plan. Okay, and that's something else I want to mention. I always mention that. And so these minor hiccups that create havoc with daily plans, right? So, and something else, not only a daily plan, it can be multiple times a day where your daily plan changes. So just be aware of that, okay? And something else, when I look at this week, we're kind of boxed in by squares and oppositions, but we're also boxed in by trines, right? So it's that mixed bag from start to end. And when I look at these, there are sesquiquadrates involved, which is a minor aspect, along with those semi-squares and squares in opposition. So what does that mean? So when I see those, that is fight-oriented. That's battle-oriented. That means unexpected fights. People are angry, they're upset, and it's very, very, very super triggering, very supercharged to want to fight or argue with people. And I will put it out there, do not take the hook. This can be road rage, that can be violence with what we got going on. Be very aware of your moods, and do not emotionally react, respond, basically walk away. Do not engage if you can help it. It's going to take you no place good, right? So it's one of those weeks where you got to be very, very aware of your moods and your response. What's going on? It really doesn't matter. Is it going to be a fight for like a couple hours, or is this a long going, endless battle? Pick your battles, choose your battles wisely. Okay. So I just wanted to put that out there too. And because it's so triggering to want to fight or go to war with people or toe to toe, those kind of things, again, you're going to lose sight of all the good, very, very good energies. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Behave yourself, right? We still have that Scorpio stinger tail, and it's fairly challenged with a lot of things. So that Scorpion, that can be mean words, arguing, that stinger in the tail, saying things and doing things that you are going to regret down the road, right? So always think twice about speaking, always think twice about acting, or you're going to pay the consequences. So just something to think about. And so if you go into observation mode, and you can sit back, step out of those situations, sit back and watch the general public, watch people in your office, watch people in your home, watch your kids at school, watch people in the stores. Go into observation mode and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, okay? So just keep that in mind. So I want to talk about our best day. So our best day is going to be November 26th. Like that's like a super yay day, right? So we have 2 trines that day. That's why I say that. And the most challenging day Actually, we have a couple challenging days. I would say is going to be the November 24th is a challenging day, but that's a very mixed bag because we have a conjunction, we have a square. That could go quite good with a hiccup, or it can be ultra bad if that conjunction goes in the negative value along with the square. It's like a double hitter of negative mojo. And so even if that just puts you in a grumpy, mad mood, right? So control it. And if you're tired, for God's sakes, go have a sleep. Because lots of times I think people's emotions are triggered because they're overtired, they're ultra tired, and none of us act or respond well when we're coasting on fumes, right? Lots of times we can go to bed a bear and we can wake up very, very happy and much better, lighter moods, better moods, okay? And so our other challenge day is going to be the 29th, November 29th. And I would just put it out there, just tread with caution, because that is the day Mercury stations direct motion. That's highly impacted. That is problematic. It can be problematic communication or talk or news or chat. So, maybe somebody's saying something that they shouldn't have said. So again, we're sitting at that Scorpio energy. So that's just think twice before you act and speak, okay? And again, a sesqui quadrate that day, we have that Uranus opposition and a biquintil. So that is just kind of a recipe for something not good to happen. So shut your mouth and wait a day, really sit there and think about these things, okay? What else do I want to say? Oh, and you know what? Another pretty good day. So I think I only said the 26th, but November 26th is a really good day. And November 30th is another really good day. Okay, so we have another trine that day. So, the cool part about this week is our trines, for the most part, are hitting all on the same day, which means we have no challenging aspects the same day, which means that would become that mixed bag. So the 26th, we have 2 trines. The 30th, we have 1 trine, but the 30th, that is the day that Venus moves into Sagittarius, which is much happier energy, right? So that's a good combination. So 26th, 30th are the best days. The 24th and the 29th are kind of very challenging negative days, so do behave, okay? And if you're throwing that hook of fighting or arguing or engaging, don't throw the hook back, walk away. Okay, so we have, how many aspects do we have? I didn't count this up, but we do have a few more negative aspects than positive aspects, but the ones we do that are positive aspects are pretty damn good. So just, again, I kind of basically described that already, And we will carry on. So we do have a lot of water energy. So that's very emotional, and it's very dramatic, and it's very intense, because what I'm talking about is Scorpio. And we have quite a bit of Pisces energy, which is water energy. We have Jupiter in Cancer. So we still have a lot of water energy. And that comes with a few hiccups. So when I see this, I'm just going to put out water warnings, okay? So water main breaks in pipes and houses, leaks, things that break loose in the plumbing in the house. So do be aware of that. If you leave on vacation, do be sure to turn your water source off, or you're going to be looking for trouble there, okay? This can indicate, flooding on a global stage, because we have so much water energy. And something else I want to point out with Uranus and Taurus can have quite a few different meanings, but when you're having that can be problematic with energies or areas with Mother Nature. So you could be having undersea or underwater volcanoes that arise. That's, hurricane weather, that's earthquakes, that's anything, but it can be not only natural disaster, but mixed with water. Okay. So we can be looking at those, anything to do with earthquakes. It can be hurricanes. It can be volcanoes. It can be just disruptive, anything with Mother Nature. So it's a problem. And again, it can be mixed with high waters. Okay. So just something to keep in mind. So that's kind of where the weather would be sitting for that, because it can certainly, again, Uranus does not like being in Taurus, and it's always affecting Mother Nature, the weather patterns, and any natural disasters. Okay. Okay, so we will move on. What else are we going to talk about here? I could talk about a lot of things. Yeah, that's our energy. So again, even though this week is a mixed bag, it's got so much potential, and it's going to want to be looking forward, making plans moving forward, because I think that's just a natural state of the human mind, right? But it's going to be kind of like a little bit crazy, a little bit upside down, and we're always going to have to be looking back, reviewing, redoing. So it's got that unexpected, I need to redo this, or this unexpected, I need to redo that, or revamp this, or revise it, or review that. But it was something out of the woodwork that comes out that I was surprised. I was shocked. I was not expected this unexpected news or information, but now we have to go back and we have to revamp something. Okay. So we redo something, revise something. That's not always a bad thing. And with Mercury retrograde, I have so many people say to me, "Oh, what a disastrous zone! Nothing goes right." And I had one person say to me, "It's like two people talking two different languages, and they just don't understand each other. It's just not clear, understood communication," which is 100% what that is. So when people say, "What the hell is Mercury retrograde good for?" Well, it is actually good for a few things: redoing and revising. So plans. But normally in retrograde, you can expect to reschedule appointments. That's common. And those unexpected people that show up out of the woodwork, like Mercury retrograde is like that magnet that just shows up when people out of the woodwork from the past show up on your doorstep. You run into them uptown, you see them uptown, they might text, they might call, whatever, but it's like the magnet for the people from the past to show up out of the woodwork. So do expect that. And don't take that as bad, but sometimes it can be that long lost friend that you haven't seen, or that family member you haven't seen 20, 30, 40 years, and you just pick up where you left off. So it's not always bad. Don't take it that way. The other thing Mercury retrograde is good for is redoing and revising and perfecting. It offers that little blurb of time to perfect something to a T, right? So like, for an example, an agreement or a binding contract. When something is going on during Mercury retrograde, it's always something wrong with the details. You missed something, you missed a fine print. So when you have that lull or that little redo time, it allows you to perfect those things to absolute perfection, where you catch those flaws, you catch those things, and you can redo it and revise it after Mercury stations retrograde, which is this week. And the other thing is last minute magic, right? So if you don't plan a whole bunch of things, because chances are if you plan or you schedule, you make dates or appointments, they're going to be changed anyway. So just go with the flow. It makes room for last minute magic, right? So meaning things that come up at the last minute, well, you can go now because you're not booked into this and booked into that. And the other thing it's really good for is a rest time. And that's something else I've noticed myself. So if you can take that 3 weeks, 3 times out of the year and say, okay, I'm just going to go with the flow. If I'm tired, I'm going to sleep, because chances are if you try to do something, the damn thing won't work anyway, and you have to redo it, right? So talk retrograde, the RX. Retrograde is RE. It means redo, revise, restructure, having to redo and review everything, right? So that's what that means. So just a little bit about that part. Okay, so we are going to bounce into kind of house activity. And again, we're very, very influential with the topics of important females, our values, personal values, value systems. This is also going to include our money, finances, our earthly possessions and goods, material goods. Anything to do with, like I said, important women, important ladies in our life. Our values, what else do we have here? And you know what? We're looking for peace and harmony, something that's very, very balanced, right? So when you have an active Venus, it's all about balance and harmony and finding cooperative ways that work. It's very relationship-oriented, partnership-oriented. Beauty and art, so that can be beauty. It can be from the person who builds a house, the house decorator, to the makeup artist, right? Those kind of things. And again, health. That most of the time, health is not included with Venus, but I'd always do, because health is a very, very fine thing in life that we all need to have, because without health, you don't have a goddamn thing. So it can be very health-oriented too, okay? So that is our main player this week. And so we are going to have high communication as well. So when I say that, so communication, news, information, incoming, outgoing, so that can be text, that can be phone calls, that can be emails, that can be word of mouth, that can be chat, and again, that can be gossip. So again, do be very, very careful with the gossip. If you hear something, doesn't mean you need to spread it or pass it on. Don't do that, because it's going to be a problem this week. We have a very active third house, and when it's challenged, that can be gossip problems, people talking about things they have no idea. So just don't go there. Don't stir up problems for yourself, and don't stir up problems for somebody else. And again, so you're going to have to probably prioritize your tasks. I mean, so much news and information is incoming and outgoing. It means you can be pulled this way, pulled that way, and you have this to do, that to do, and you might feel a feeling of overwhelm. I just can't keep up. So again, prioritize your tasks. What's important, deal with. Your main priorities, and what's not really a priority, toss it in the back seat for now. You can always do that later. So know what's important, know what's not. Whatever your priorities are, look after those first and take it from there. And again, this can be an extremely, extremely tiring week. So if you're tired, allow yourself some rest, some rejuvenation, some recharge time. You will thank yourself later for doing that, because chances are, if you're doing things and projects and communicating and paperwork or whatever it is, when you're tired, chances are it's going to be probably a shitty job. It's not going to be really, really well. And chances are you're going to have to redo it. So if you are tired and you just are not thinking clearly and your brain is tired, you're drained, you're depleted, do give yourself permission to rest and sleep, and then continue on. Because lots of times what happens if you don't, you do it once, and then when you do go have a rest, you look at it and you think, oh God, what was I thinking? And you're going to have to redo it. You're not going to be happy with the product, right? Productivity, creativity, response, thinking, quality is just not there when we're tired, right? Nobody thinks well. Nobody runs well. Nobody acts well coasting on an empty tank or coasting on fumes. So we always want to recharge those tanks if we can, okay? So again, we have lots of Scorpio energy. So we're looking about the undercurrent of motivations, why people are doing what they do. This can also be about desires and needs and wants. And it's just because you want something or desire something doesn't necessarily mean you act on it. Know the difference. It's a very intuitive time. It's extremely, extremely dramatic. It's intense. It's emotional. That's part of Scorpio. And Scorpio is also about the truth teller, right? It blows the whistle. And it's also very investigative. And it's also naturally very, very resourceful. So just keep that in mind. That's kind of the main theme of this week. Has got so much Scorpio energy. It's very, very activated. And it can be power control issues. It can be jealous. It's mind games, being vindictive. And again, on the people pleasers, that can be a problem as well. So it's a very, very intuitive energy. So that is floating about this week. It's probing, it's investigative, and it's highly, highly, highly motivated, right? It probes into things, and it always knows people's motivations and what subject or what is motivating people to do what they do, right? And again, so it's on the, on a upper level, a higher level. It's very compassionate. It's very sympathetic. It's very caring. Just remember, Scorpio is always about that death and rebirth and transformation. That's what Scorpio does. It rules the 8th house. And so it's usually always about very serious matters, okay? And that can include intimacy, that can include sex, it can include taxes, people's tax money, big money, hidden money, secrets, secret money. So when it turns into probing, investigative, and whistleblowing and truth-telling, lots of times that can hover around missing or hidden or secret money, those kind of things, or things that are done kind of in the hidden. So just keep that in mind. So it's just it's very probing, and it likes to uncover, okay? And so you can expect to see those kind of things show up with, truths or things going on. Say, for example, a good would be within politics or politicians, or things to do with money, those kind of things. Or hidden money, people's tax money. But anyway, that's the Scorpio is the deep dive. It's below the surface. It sees and knows. It sees the unseen. It knows the unknown, and it probes and it digs. And it's like that broom that's scraping into that dark, dark corner that we can't see, and it exposes, it reveals, it unearths, right? And it brings about death. It brings about rebirth. It brings about regeneration and transformation. It's the most serious zodiac sign in the whole zodiac belt. And we have that undercurrent. So when you start mixing that heavy Scorpio energy with unexpected news or information, and remember, not all major challenging or negative aspects plays out the same for everybody. So it really depends on the circumstances you're in, what you got going on, what part of the fence you're sitting on, because it can be quite beneficial. So when I say that, it's not always negative, it's not always bad. But the thing of it is, if you're involved with a group or two people or a conflict, remember there's one person who's right, there's one person who's wrong, there's one person who's lying, there's one person who's telling the truth. So when you have these aspects show up, it can be the dividing, it can be the difference between right versus wrong, good versus bad, truth versus lies or falsehood. So depending on if you're the liar or you're the truth teller, there's going to be a winner, there's going to be a loser. So in that aspect, it can really define the black and white between what's good, what's bad, but there's going to be a winner there's going to be a loser, and that doesn't always go over so well. So in certain circumstances, it can be an exceptionally very, very good week, but on the other side, it can be quite depleting or imploding, self-imploding. So again, that will apply to everybody differently. So just keep that in mind. So, because when I say, negative aspects, squares, oppositions, those are high impact, major negative or challenged aspects. People are like, oh no, that's bad. Well, it can be. Yeah, it can be. It can be very self-correcting as well, right? So again, depending on what you got going on, what's taking place, that makes all the difference in the world, okay? All right, so we are going to jump over to, let me see. Yes. Oh, something else too. We might be looking at expanding horizons and looking at a few hiccups with that, a few problems. We might have to revise and redo a few things there, right? So that's something else. So that can be, religion, that can be spirituality, that can be long distance travel. So, problems with maybe long distance travel, planes, flights, stuck at airports, those kind of things. Education, it can have to do with, say, human resources, those kind of areas. And having to redo or maybe standing up for yourself, or it can be fights in those areas, right? So just keep that in mind. And expanding your horizons can be like a few hiccups within that kind of area. And this can also include foreign lands or foreign shores or international connections. Writing, publishing, those kind of things can be quite highlighted, and you might have to redo or restructure a few little things, okay? So that being said, we are going to move on to the areas that are going to be probably the most highlighted this week. So again, Uranus is going to be very dominant this week, kind of like our overseer of the week. Highlighted energy. So that's finances, that's money, it's expenses. It can be budgeting, and this is also your self-worth, your values, your house of values, right? Value systems, inner values, how we structure our values, and our redo probably with our value and value systems. We're going to see something or feel something differently. Like, again, when this is very highlighted and very dominant energy, you're probably going to want to be redoing and revising some of your personal values, meaning like, you know what, I've had enough of this, I deserve better, why am I putting up with this? And you're not going to do it. So when that happens, you actually restructure your personal value system and things become different, life becomes better, okay? So but money, finances, that can include investments, expenses, anything that you're having expenses. And, you might want to be taking a look at budgeting. And you can be looking at major purchase, but again, wait till after Mercury stations direct motion. And your income, how you make money, your work, what work you do to fill your bank account, your monthly paycheck. And you might be working on savings. And again, this can involve earth and environment. And when I say earth and environment, that can again touch in with that Uranus opposition because it's with the Taurus energy. Okay. All right. Again, that can be include assets as well. So building, you might be looking at a major purchase, thinking about a major purchase. Security, savings, our valuables, our possessions, and again, how we make money, right? It's the money possession house that gets very, very highlighted in here. And so the next batch of things that's going to be, so again, when we are Venus activated or Venus dominant this week, that's going to very much impact the 7th house area. So that's relationships, that's love, that's partnerships. That can include helpers, that can include aesthetics and design, art, beauty, right? Agreements and contracts. Again, if you're having any agreements or contracts, wait till after Mercury stations direct motion, okay? Which is on the 29th. And so this can also include your clients, your customers, your customer relations, public relations. And this also includes a relationship with self. So we have relationships with others, but this is always about relationship with self. And that's kind of an ongoing battle for everybody. That balance within, and that also reflects the balance without. So this is also an air house. And so we do have sky god Uranus very, very active in opposition. We do have an active air house. Actually, we have a couple active air houses. So it can be very air oriented. And so that can mean flying, making travel plans, being at the airport, problems with flights, problems with airplanes, mechanical problems, those kind of things. So anything to do with air house. So that can be news chat, that can be news stations, that can be newscasting, that can include online social media platforms, internet, anything. So that can be problems with internet as well. So we can be looking at problems with connections, dropped internet connections, that can be spyware or being like cyber attacks or being stolen from on the internet, via the internet. So that could be bank accounts, those kind of things as well. So when we have those kind of things, that's very, very activated. That's a very Uranian thing, is always to do with digital currencies, digital anything, internet anything, and it comes with a problem. So, breaches of security, cyber attacks, breaking into things that people should not be in, but that's done via the internet or internet connection. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, and so we will have the health house lit up. So house 6, so health, healing, wellness, and this daily routines or daily regimens, and that is always usually linked to, well, just daily plans and routines for the day, but it's very, very health linked. So you might have to revise plans for health and healing. You might have to a new course of action because you got news that it was not the same as last week as it is this week. And it's about systems, it's about organizations, and the 6th house is a Virgo. It's all about the detail. And the devil can be in the detail, right? It's about work, doing things that are important to you. And this can actually reflect on pets. So if you have pets at home or if you're thinking about getting pets, that can be a highlighted area. Employees. So you might be an employee or you might have employees. That's another thing. And your service to the world. Okay. So when you have an active 6th house, that's about your health house, but it's also about doing work and working about doing things that's very important to you. And you might be mentoring somebody. Somebody might be mentoring you. But whatever you do, it's very, very important. And so diet, exercise, and a health focus is a huge, huge, huge focus here. And again, that revision or redoing because something wasn't how it looked, something unexpected happened last week and has changed this week. And it's also the house of bad luck, slavery, and enslavement. So there is a negative side, often to houses. That's just how it is with houses and signs and planets. They have their plus, they have their minus. So there can be a slight bit of bad luck or feeling enslavement, or like a slavery to somebody or something, or maybe you're just a slave to your work. That could be too. So that's very, very highlighted. And so we have the 3rd house, which is an air house. And again, that's a very activated air energy. So this, again, about communication as a whole. And that can be social media platforms. That can be YouTube. That can be TikTok. That can be any sort of social media platform. It can be about newscasting and news channels. So like, your mainstream media can be very highlighted here too. That's going to come with a problem, most likely. Okay, so this can include relatives. That's not kids or parents. So that can be cousins, that can be aunts and uncles, that can be the next door neighbor, people who you are close to. And this can be about communication devices. So again, you don't want to be buying any sort of communication device or any large ticket item just yet. Wait till after into next week. But that would be like laptops, computers. That could be phones, iPhones, iPods, iPads, anything to do with that. Interpersonal devices or any sort of device that's electronic. Okay, you might be looking at. And again, social media, internet linked. It can be writing and editing, right? And modes of transportation. So that can be wheelchair to moped to scooter to car to truck. Again, don't be buying any of those until after next week. And short trips here, short trips there. I got to do this. I got to do that. I'm going to the school to pick up my kids. I got to go to the post office. I got to go to the city hall. I got to do this. I got to do that. But it will be in close proximity. And this can include up into your probably closest, largest city. And again, I mentioned this earlier, and I'm going to say it again. Be very, very hyper aware of gossip problems, your mouth and your news and your information getting twisted, mixed up, and nobody knowing what they're talking about. Do not do that this week because you are looking for a very, very, very large problem because of that Uranus opposition with Venus. So that could split up relationships or partnerships with whatever's going on. Okay. So just be very, very aware. Just because you hear it doesn't mean you have to spread it. And when you hear it, I would double, triple check the fact from fiction because we are sitting in Mercury retrograde. It's misunderstood. It's misunderstanding. It's not clear. It's unclear information news. So best just find out fact from fiction. Don't say nothing and don't spread things that you don't know are true because that can be very, very damaging to people or groups or whatever. And even to yourself because you will eventually acquire that name of being a gossip and not knowing what you're talking about. Nobody needs that. Okay, so that's going to be the 3rd house. And so this is a very, very highlighted house too. The 8th house, it was kind of a toss-up to which I should start with first because, again, the 8th house at Scorpion energy, it's Plutonic energy. Very, very highlighted because we still have a lot of water Scorpio energy hanging out this week, especially with Mercury retrograde, okay? So the 8th house, this is the house of inheritance. It's about wills. It's about estates. Okay, it could be about funeral planning, or, that could be prepaid funerals, or you might be planning a funeral right now. Anything to do with estates and wills. Other people's money, okay? family money, spousal money, that can be shared money, shared resources, joint bank accounts, joint investments, those kind of things, spousal investments, spousal RSPs, collaboration. And this can be about debt. So this can be about paying debt off, or this can be about looking at, holy crap, I have a lot of debt to pay off. So large debt load. About capital, and it's about loans. So when we're talking debt load, large loans, big loans, it can include taxes. So people's taxes can be very highly, or tax money. So that could mean maybe somebody needs to file their taxes, or you might be filing taxes on behalf of a passed on loved one. Looking in the tax department, this can be IRS, this can be CRA, something to do with tax money, tax issues, or this can also be the public's tax money being exposed, and something to do in a negative fashion to do with any sort of politician that would be seen on a global scale. So hidden tax money being exposed, or Scorpio was digging around in the corner, and guess what I found? It exposes it. It tells people, it's the truth teller. It can unearth, it can uncover, and it reveals hidden things or secret things or things that were supposed to be hidden, but they eventually work their way to the surface. And we are definitely in that Scorpio season of exposure, okay? This can include intimacy, sex. Of course, this is also, the house of marriage or marriage areas, and power and control problems. And that we were certainly seeing that on a global stage, of course, in the political world. Psychology, parapsychology. This can include mystical areas, occult areas. And this could be like the mystery of like what happened there, or how that worked, or how that unfolded, right? Or you might be writing a mystery. And esoteric areas. And it's also the lotto house. So when I talk about other people's money, it's a big money house. That can include lotto money, lotto winnings. Okay. And again, other people's money, other people's resources. So somebody might even just give you money, or give you something to do with, out of their resources to give to you. That's possible as well. This is also the house of insurance. So you might be buying insurance, you might be looking at an insurance policy, or you might be having an insurance payout, or you might actually be working for an insurance company. That's possible. The 8th house is also a health house. The 8th house is a health house of surgeries and hidden procedures. Okay. So some of you might be looking at surgeries, booking surgeries. It might be after a surgery, but it can be very surgery oriented, past, present, or future. And you might be looking at paperwork or recovery or booking or anything to do with this past surgery or a hidden procedure. Often when this is lit up, people can be having surgeries or procedures that people are not aware of. The public doesn't know, not probably your family or friends. So this can also include miscarriages. It can include abortions, those kind of things. So those are the kind of things as an example of hidden procedures. So that happens. That's the way it is, unfortunately. But it can be those hidden dark things, those medical surgeries or medical procedures that are done in the dark, where it's not obvious in public and people do not know. Okay, so that will apply to some people, not to others. Applied accordingly. It's a different story for everybody. Okay, and also the 8th house is a dark house. It's a water house. It's an emotional house. It's about, mental emotions, mental health, emotional health. That can also fall in this house. It's a psychology house. Anytime you see a water house, it's about hidden. It's about emotion. It's about the psychology or your subconscious areas of your life, right? And so when it's hidden, it's dark. It means you can't see, right? So that's something else. It's also the house of self-empowerment, okay? And so this might be a very, very prime time, especially in Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. You might be going backtracking and reviewing and redoing and, rebuilding that empowerment, self-empowerment within. And remember, you have power over yourself. You never have power and control over another. People will try, but it usually comes back to bite them in the ass. So that's not recommended, right? You have power over yourself, and self-empowering can be a very, very, very highlighted area this week. Okay, and so we have an active Mars, and so Mars rules the first house. So the first house in Mars is always about the head area. So that can be cuts to the head, that can be traumas to the head, that can be, problems within the head, within the brain, the face area. So that can be, and also about anger issues, right? It can be about headaches. It can be about sinus problems, sinus headaches, migraines, anything to do with the sinus cavities in behind the eyes, the head, exterior, interior of the head, anything to do with that. Or it can be, I've had a lot of traumas to the head, or lots of cuts or hits or head, to your head, or it can just be consistent headaches I've experienced my whole life. And again, when we have a Mars square, I would put out caution, be very, very careful around the head area, because when you have the god of war mixing with the head, that can be head traumas, hitting your head, banging your head, cutting your head, or something to do with, being very angry or upset. So do just pay attention to that. So, and the first house is always about the physical body. So the first house is also a health house. So we have all health houses lit up. So health houses 1, 6, and 8 are all health houses. And so when you talk about the first house, that's about the physical body. Your weight, your wellness, your illness, health and healing. What do I need to do with diet, exercise to rebuild my physical body? What do I want as an appearance for my physical body? That also includes the muscle system. So you might be, redoing a whole exercise routine to rebuild your body. It doesn't matter what age. Or you might think, I need to do something about excess body weight or fat, those kind of things. But a central focus on the physical body, health, healing, wellness, illness, building it up, or I need to do something about this, okay? Okay. And also can be an elevated look at how people identify you on a daily basis. How you appear to others and your identification. Who you are as a person and how you approach each day. Your views, your opinions, your attitude towards things. That's something else that can be very highlighted. Okay, and again, I talked a little bit about the 11th house. So when I talk about Uranus always rules the 11th house. So when we have that, that's in a very challenging aspect, that opposition, and mixed with Venus. But that doesn't always mean bad, like I explained better. Sometimes it can be beneficial, but sometimes it can be problematic. But what shows up needs to be addressed. Okay, so this is the house of inventions, innovation. And so it's about groups, it's about associations, it's about friends circles, people, acquaintances. And this, again, will touch on social media and internet. So we have social media and internet platforms and information and news that's very, very, very highlighted this week. And so that can be like, that unexpected news coming out like, holy crap, I just did not see that coming, right? Or that unexpected truth that shows up and you're like, holy crap, I just did not expect that. That's out of the blue. Or, it just surfaced. Scorpio digs around and Uranus exposes it. Scorpio unearths it, and Uranus just is the truth teller. It just blurts it out there. Jupiter and Uranus are about truth and truth telling, and it's about exposure. Okay, so we could be looking at that. And it's about groups, committees, communities, and it can be large organizations or humanitarian efforts. So that can be, from community to maybe your state, your province, to your country, to global efforts, to help others. It's about like minds, like groups, like associations. And again, this is very, very, very highlighted in the politics and the political areas on the globe. So no one is excluded. You're on the planet, you count. There's no one excluded on this. It's about technology. So we could be looking at technology problems or hiccups because it's an opposition, it's a challenge. Again, cyber attacks, security breaches, people's money being stolen. It can be about, phishing sites or phishing emails, anything to be taken advantage of via the internet. So bad things that happen on the internet. So do be very mindful of your bank accounts, know what's going on there, and do double check because that can be a problem, right? And this can also be an area of hopes, wishes, dreams. The 40 wishes house, right? Or the pennies from heaven. And so even though it's challenged, there is something good that can come with this. So that can be money from somebody else, but coming from a challenged state. So that could, unfortunately, the first thing that comes to mind when I say that is money coming to you by a challenge or a problem is an inheritance, right? Someone has to pass on in order for money or legacy to be handed down. Or it can just be that out of the blue thing that comes in and it's very unexpected, and it can be money coming in pennies from heaven or the hopes, wishes, dreams that gets highlighted, right? It might come with a hiccup, but then it's got a flow to it, okay? And again, the 11th house is another air house. So we have houses 3, 7, and 11 all lit up. Again, it's to do with air travel, airplanes, airlines. It can be problematic technology problems or hiccups with electronics within airplanes. And unfortunately, that can include air crashes because with that Uranus opposition, Uranus is the sky god. And so you can be looking at problems with that or being stuck in a airport or hiccups or delays or canceled flights, anything to do with that. Or problems with, business that link back to an airline. So maybe they're going bankrupt, they're going broke, or they're having money problems, or they might be amalgamating with another airline. Anything to do with that. And again, the 11th house is about a communication house. So again, this can definitely link back to political problems. And you're going to hear about it in news in the media. And that can be very media oriented. So you can, hear a truth about a mainstream media, something like that. Or they might be having financial difficulties or problems or someone's holding back the money, okay? anything like that. And it's the innovation house, the technology house, the political house. This also includes digital currency, digital banking. And so again, that can be hacks, hacking systems, security breaches, stealing, theft, anything to do with digital currency, like for example, like Bitcoin or those kind of things. That can be a problematic area there. Okay, moving on. Okay, and on the lower end, we can be looking at some really, really good things coming in the house and the home. Okay, so anything to do with, emotional or inner world, house, home, sales, moves. You might be moving in the process of moving or in the process of selling your house, but in a good way. We have a Jupiter trine, and that's a good thing. So that's smooth flow, good luck, good fortune. And this can be, maybe you might be building, family trees, you're looking up ancestry or finding genealogy areas that you're interested that, would have some sort of positive effect on what you're working on or doing, or answers about your foundations in life. So that could literally be your house foundation and, getting a fix or something good going on there. This can also include genetics. So that genetic healing, genetic testing. And in this, that would be finding an answer, okay? And this is also an unseen water house. It's dark, it's below the horizon, and this can be things going on behind closed doors. So you might be thinking about buying a house, moving, selling your house, but that's hidden from the general public, right? And it's also a psychology house. And anytime you have a water house, it's an emotional house, it's a subconscious house, it's a psychology house. It's the hidden realm where lots of times we can be in our head thinking about this bugs us, that bugs us. This can be family or ancestry oriented, okay? But anyway, having to do around the house and home. And the fourth house is always about mom. So what's going on with mom? Is mom busy? Mom not well? Is mom healing up? What's going on with mom? Or, she'll have a highlighted area. And that can be growth and expansion, fixing, healing, resolving, looking for answers, finding answers. And to do with any of those, especially that can link back to mom. The fourth house is always about mom. The 10th house is always about dad. Or a mother energy. Doesn't always have to be your mom, but it can be some mother figure to you. All right, and okay. That being said, we are going to, let's see, again, about foreign travel, writing and publishing books. That can be something else that's very, very highlighted here. All right. International connections. You might be talking about to somebody overseas, expanding your horizons, and again, travel, adventure, long distance travel. Again, foreign countries you might be looking at. Again, spirituality, religion, that can be esoteric or mystical. And this can have to do with the in-laws. So you might have something to do with the in-laws or working with the in-laws, visiting the in-laws, or the in-laws are visiting you. And to do with ethics, right? So redefining ethics. This can be foreign cultures. It can be good luck and good fortune upon us. And we can have dad and dad stories going on here. And so that can be positive about dad as well. So we're talking about that. That can be job, that can be career, that can be business, father figures. I said, or authority figures. That can be bosses, that can be law enforcement to political leaders, anything to do with that. But that can be smooth flowing. That's good mojo going with it. So if you have a sick dad, sick father, that's ways of healing, ways of resolution, answers, or those kind of things. And this can be a boost to your career, your job, your work, okay? And so you can be taking on too much work where you can't keep up. What's a good thing, but it's just you're stressed out and you can't be everywhere at once. So that's kind of the flip side of that. And being very, very disciplined, where discipline pays off, hard work pays off. It can be karmic rewards being instated, given to you. And it's about good karma. And it's about manifesting on the material plane. So whatever you've been working on, you can start to see probably fruition coming in. All right. And physical time. Physical time is going to be of the essence. So we will move on. I want to talk a little bit about the 12th house. So this has finally got some good flow to it. And so when I talk about that, so this is about addiction. So this can be, it's about addictions and fears. That's the negative part of this. But the positive part about that is you can be overcoming it. You can be fixing it. You can be getting addiction help. So I remember addictions can be, it can be about sex, drugs, street drugs, prescription drugs, any sort of addiction like that. It can be sex addiction, it can be pornography addiction, and the work addiction. You can have the workaholic involved here as well. And so that means maybe somebody's acknowledged and somebody's willing to do something about it. So that's like the healing and the betterment of those issues. So this can be about, the 12th house is another water house. It's a huge house. It's an emotional house. It's a dark house, a subconscious and psychology house, okay? It's that deep dive place, and it's a huge house. So this can include past lives with people. And it's a house of things going on behind the scenes that is not open to the public eye. It's hidden, it's secret, it's private. It's a solitude time, it's an isolation time. That can be isolation good or bad, meaning isolation you choose to be on your own because you need to have a sleep and some rest and some recovery time. You've chosen to isolate, or it can be isolated due to somebody else. And so that could be a problem, and maybe that's being rectified, okay? This can include foreign lands, foreign shores. Again, the international connections area once more. So that's quite highlighted this week. It's twice over, which is double amplified. You can looking at dreams, astral dream, lucid dreaming, teleportation in dreams, those kind of things. And again, that cosmic soup, that esoteric, that occult, the spirituality, the mysticism is very, very highlighted this week. So some of you, or even Akashic Records, that's included in this as well. And confinement. So some of you, or you might know people who are living in confinement. So what do I mean? That could be prisons, that could be jails, that could be orphanages. That big time is meaning hospitals. Someone in a hospital that could be family, could be friend, or stuck in isolation because of something. So most often when you're in confinement, you're put there because of other people or outside circumstances. So if you're in jail, it's because the law put you there. If you're in a hospital, chances are because the doctor admitted you, right? And this can also very much include redefining and building yourself up from ground zero, meaning you've lost everything and you're starting all over. A good example of that would be a separation divorce, right? We divvy it up and we start all over, right? And basically, our identity and our personal and material goods or possessions have been stripped away, or we have to revamp it, and we start all over. And I know a lot of us have been there, right? This is also the house of art and creativity. So that's really, really kind of cool too. So there's a lot of really, really good things. There's a lot of healing. And for once, we do have some really, really good energy to do something about these problem areas or these interest areas that just grow in lightning speed. So all of a sudden, for example, you have a lightning interest in mystical study and you want to get on the education bandwagon, and the education you're taking is from over in foreign lands or a foreign country. You can be doing it online, or your art and creativity, it just all of a sudden sparks and takes off. So enough about that. So we are going to jump into, this is a lot going on. We have a lot of busy activity with a lot of planets and signs involved and aspects. So it's a little bit extended, this reading, but it does cover a lot. So I'm going to jump over to the health and anatomy part. And so that is going to bring up, again, we're Venus dominant this week. So we are going to be looking at the throat, the chin, the cheeks, our sense of taste, kidneys, ovaries, internal reproductive organs. That will include hormones, the endocrine system, so any male hormones and female hormones involved. This can include blood circulation and our skin. So the skin as a whole, or sensory organs of the skin. The nervous system. So do keep a very calm nervous system and ground as much as needed, because it can be an overactive, overstimulated nervous system. So that will include the brain, the nervous system, the sight, mouth, tongue, respiratory system, meaning the lungs, or the lung channel, hands, arms, that will include elbows, thyroid gland, and this is also about the mind. So anything to do with the mind or the mental realm, thinking, overthinking, getting carried away, that can include that. Keep your mind and your mental process in balance and under control. This can include the thymus gland. And so the Cancer energy, it's going to be about the breast tissue or breast areas. This can include the stomach and, stomach function, fluid balance. So there's, too much fluid and we need to rebalance that, or there's not enough fluid. That could be dehydration, digestion, glandular secretions, your eyes, okay? All right. And this can include, again, I talked to you about this before, the muscular system of the whole body. So any muscle in the body, you might be working, you might have a problem with it, we need to repair it, those kind of things. If you have a torn bicep, the torn muscle, that's reattachment, or just building muscle, or taking doing a better job looking after your muscular physique in your whole entire body. So this is external reproductive systems. The head and the face, again, very highlighted this. So be very, very cautious and very, very careful around the head traumas, bleeding, blunt force trauma, anything to do with the head, headaches, sinus headaches, anything to do with an infection in the sinus cavity, in the brain, anything to do with brain health, interior, exterior of the head. And I do say that, I do caution that, because we have a Mars square, which is a traumatic thing to do within the head area. And that can include the physical body. So that can include, traumas or problems or cuts to the physical body anyway, but more so Mars and and Aries is like the first house. This can include the red blood cells. So you might be getting blood testing or blood test results. This can include the bladder and the adrenal glands. Now, we will be talking about the higher nervous system. So that's like the electrical impulses over the nerve cells. So that's a higher nervous system, the central nervous system. Do keep that under control and very, very balanced, and keep it calm, right? And this can be like the crazy weird energy, right? Crazy weird things happening to the body. And this also includes the body electricity and more so the ankles. So do be careful about the ankles, breaking an ankle, twisting an ankle, those kind of things. Electrocutions, be very, very careful of shocks because, or water problems. I hate to say this, but, drownings, those kind of things, because that can be hydro energy or it can be electrical energy when you include Uranus. This can include arterial blood circulation, your liver, your thighs, your hips, your ears, and your pancreas. It can also include, we're going to go down this path. So again, the skin is highlighted. So you might be looking after your skin problems, or makeup over skin, or working with skin, and or might even be seeing a dermatologist. Something to do with your skin quality, looking after your skin, or skin issues. Skeletal system, so that can be any bone in the body. This can be your teeth, upper and lower, ligaments, your knees. Again, the ear is very, very highlighted. Right, left ear, auditory organs, the gallbladder, parathyroid gland, and body protein. Okay, this can also include, and I'm going to talk about the health axis too, because Pisces is very, very lit up, and not so much Virgo. But when you talk about Pisces and you talk about Neptune, we got some good things going on with Neptune because we got a trine, which means there's some health and healing and some wellness paths going on that might get news that might fix things, or you find out something different that heals things. It's an answer. So this can include viruses, and this can include mental health, emotional health, mental health as a whole. So that includes depression, that includes the spinal column, nerve fibers, your feet, so that includes your toes, right? Pineal gland, telepathic functions, and this can include white blood cells. So white blood cell testing, those kind of things, what's going on there. So again, immune system, right? Lymphatic system, but especially white blood cell testing. And viruses is very, very highlighted, and the thymus gland. All right, and I'm also going to include this Pluto, because Pluto is a ruler of Scorpio, and Scorpio is very, very heavy here, right? It's a very, very highlighted topic. So that can include elimination systems, so that can, the bladder, that can include the rectum, the colon, for elimination systems in any way, shape, and form. The pituitary gland, abnormal growth. So this often takes in cancer areas. So abnormal growth, that can include warts, tumors, moles, birthmarks, any type of cancer, but that can also be benign tumors as well. So, and skin tags. So take that as it lands, and the hypothalamus gland. So that can be a topic of interest. So it can be where it's a problem and we found a fix, or you might be having a wart removed, those kind of things. So those are the kind of things, plus or minus, that are very, very highlighted. So that goes both ways. I do want to include Pisces because we do have a lot of Pisces energy. And again, that falls on that axis, that falls in with Neptune. So that is about blood quality, blood testing, white blood cells, red blood cells, blood testing as a whole, immune system, lymphatic system, and you might have a lymphatic system backup, fluid retention, or fluid buildup in the lymph system that might need to be looked after, or adhered, or looked after, or questioned. You might need to see a health care provider about that. So toxicity and toxic water, that can be on the earth, which is not really health linked, but when you have toxic water, that can be toxic water within the body, or maybe you might be consuming toxic water, or toxicity of water within the lymphatic system or body. So again, viruses are doubly amplified. We have an active Pisces, we have an active Neptune, and that's double amplified for viruses, and the thymus gland, okay? So again, the immune system, the lymphatic system might be something you want to take a look at, okay? And with that being said, I think I've talked on here for quite some time here. we will bring this reading to a close. It's a very, very busy week. And again, it's very emotional. It's very dramatic. It's very intense. So keep everything in check. Keep your mind in check. Keep your emotions in check. And biggest and best, keep your mouth and your behavior and your actions in check, because this can really get you into trouble in a bad way if you overreact, emotionally react. So do think twice before acting. Do think twice before saying. Do not repeat gossip. Do know fact from fiction. And if you're provoked or triggered, do not engage. So do enjoy all the lovely, lovely, lovely trine energy we have going on. It's all Venus involved. So Venus is that feminine, divine planet. It loves all the fine things in life, and she's got massive flow with it all week long. We are boxed in both by trine energy, and we're also boxed in by square and opposition. And so choose the trine energy, the good energy. We want good, smooth flowing manifestation results. We want art, beauty. We want money and finances to stay in check. Our relationships to be in flow, and our health to be in flow. We want some healing, we have some health, some wellness going on, some answers, some resolutions. So that can be very, very amplified here. So until we talk again, stay happy, stay healthy, take care of yourself, and take care of each other. Bye for now.